It's something that I've been, well, researching is a hardly applicable word in some ways, because to research means to look for. And you do that, of course you do. But after some extraordinary, what people would call paranormal experiences in 1990 and 91, my life has become, since then, this synchronistic series of coincidences which have led me to, and even brought to me really, people, personal experiences, documents, books, and all these different sources that have put information before me in a very coordinated way, like some hidden hand is passing information to you. And it's not just random information, it's information that very clearly, as it comes into my life, has a direction. It has a series of steps. So in the early 1990s, the information that was coming into my life was about the fact that there was a cabal that was manipulating human society and world events towards the goal of a Orwellian global state, in which there would be a world government dictating to every country. Countries would be dismantled and become regions of great power structures. The European Union is a classic. And what we're seeing now with the European Union is the next stage of breaking countries up by destroying them financially, and then centrally dictating financially and in terms of government. And that there was a plan for a global army to impose the will of the world government, a world central bank to impose the cabal's global financial structure and control, and that the plan was for every child at birth to be microchipped as a matter of course. Now that was kind of whoa enough as the information came, and of course with the passage of the years this has been confirmed more and more by the fact that it's happening. Then there was a phase in the mid to late 1990s when, while that other information continued and has continued to this present day, another, if you like, parallel and connected series of synchronistic situations happened in my life which brought information to me, and this related to the fact that the network of families which go back to the ancient world that are behind this control system I've just described and its ambitions actually take a non-human form, a not just reptilian, though that seems to be the dominant one, but, and I've moved on from that too and gone into other levels of it beyond that, but that there is a non-human force behind this attempt to lock down the world. And then from about 2002, 2003, right to the present day, all these continue. Once they come into my life, these different areas, they continue together. That's why I work 12, 15 hours a day, keeping up with it. But this third phase, from about 2000, 2003, was the most important. Because without this, you can't really understand the rest. And that was about the nature of reality, the illusory nature of what we call physical reality, the fact that solidity is delusional, and that we live in a holographic, illusory physical reality, which is only one level of many multi-levels of this reality, which operates on a waveform level, vibrational level, it operates on an electrical level, it operates on a digital level, and it operates on the holographic level, which we in the conscious mind perceive as the world. And to appreciate that when I look through my eyes, another illusion, funnily enough, which is why when people have near-death experiences, they leave the body and they're looking down on the body with the eyes, but they're still seeing. So, I mean, the scale of illusion in our so-called physical experience is extraordinary. I mean, and we've not got to the bottom of it yet. But it is that when I look through my eyes, shall we say, that people think that they're seeing everything there is to see in the space that I'm looking at. No, they're not. They're seeing a tiny band of frequency called visible light, which is so tiny it is ludicrous. And the rest of what exists in this universe, and even mainstream science would say this, although it's Stone Age science I would suggest, but even it sees this, that the overwhelming vast majority of what exists in this universe, in energy, matter, mass, whatever you want to call it, its different forms, we cannot see. And therefore, we are living, if you like, in like a holographic television channel. So, all I'm seeing now as I look here is this tiny frequency range called visible light.
Channel 1.
Yeah, but all the other levels of reality also share the same space as the one that we're experiencing. And, you know, we've got digital television coming in now and all that stuff, but if you take the analog version of television, radio too, they are sharing the same space without interfering with each other, because they're on different frequencies, and thus interpenetrating this reality that we experience with a conscious mind are all the other realities where very, very different worlds are manifest, and with very different what we call laws of physics. And so it's from these frequencies that are very, very close to this one that we use the term with radio and television where interference takes place. And if you have two radio stations that are well away from each other in the frequency band, then they don't interfere with each other. One's not aware of the other one. But you get two frequencies that are close, and it might be dominated by one, but there's interference from the other. Why? Because the frequencies are very close. Well, these manipulating entities, forces, shall we say, operate from a frequency band that's very close to this one, but not this one.
So but we might not see them, but they might be here.
Well, let's give you an example. You'll see stories of UFOs appearing out of nowhere and disappearing into nowhere. You'll hear stories about people saying this entity appeared out of nowhere and disappeared into nowhere. Well, they haven't disappeared. And they haven't appeared out of nowhere. What they've done is they've entered the frequency band that we can decode, the visible light frequency band that I'm talking about. And when it enters that, we start decoding that information because it's now in our ability to do that. And as we start decoding it, bang, to the observer, it appears that it's just come out of nowhere. And then it leaves that frequency range, and to the observer, it's disappeared into nowhere. It hasn't. It's just left that band that we can decode, which is tiny. And so when I find this particularly compelling when I go around different ancient beliefs and explanations of what's happening, and you find that although they're using different names, they're telling the same story. For instance, there was a group of people, or shall we say a belief system, which goes back hundreds of years and has become known as Gnostic. This was the belief system of people that ran the Great Library of Alexandria with Hypatia, who was slaughtered by a mob inspired by the Roman Church, because that library carried information and knowledge that would have, as it circulated, demolished the Roman Church's version of everything, and it was challenging the Roman Church version of everything. And what's interesting is whenever you come across the Gnostics' belief system expressing itself, you see it's followed by slaughter, suppression, and the destruction of that knowledge. So the Cathars in southern France were Gnostics in terms of their belief system. We'll go into what that belief system is in a second. And so, again, in went the church, and all these, people that kill for the church, and they destroyed the Cathars. It's, I think, 1244 was the last stand to the mountain fortress at Montségur in southern France, in the foothills of the Pyrenees. And again, it's not just we slaughter them, but we destroy their knowledge. But a fantastic thing happened in 1945 when a sealed jar of Gnostic writings, quite considerable writings, was found by a peasant in Egypt in 1945. And they describe much of the Gnostic belief system. Now, key in my interest, one of the things, of course, as a quick aside, they were telling a very different version of the Christian story. And we might get into that because it's relevant. But the key thing for me was that around a fifth of these texts were about a phenomenon they called the archons. And the archons, these Gnostics said, were a manipulative force that operated outside of human sight, that was basically, as we would call it, an energetic form rather than what we would call a physical form, though it could manifest as physical form through holographic projections and stuff. And these writings even talked in their own way about the illusory nature of this reality.